Good morning, everyone. We're going to get right into the stock charts on this channel. We cover stock market technical analysis, trade ideas, really everything about the markets. But for the most part, everything's going to come from the charts, and we're going to look at where these charts are telling us the next trade is. So if you're new, follow along. I hope you're able to pick some value out of this channel and some of these videos. Leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, help my channel grow. I'll continue to help you with the trade ideas. Let's get right into it. We're going to start out, we're going to go through the broad markets, and then we'll look at some individual trade ideas, and then we'll wrap up. We'll start out here with tech, which is triple Qs, and this area that I have circled right here on the hourly chart is the area that I said that I thought that the Qs would likely get rejected. So far, you can see this morning, and I'll go ahead and get rid of that. You can see this morning we gapped down and, kind of continuing to sell off. We're not seeing them able to really recover this gap down. Now the day's young, there's still a lot of time left in the day. So I just want to point out that so far we have been rejected at this resistance level. So levels to watch again, you've got this 324.50 area, but I think it's likely that we're going to head lower down to 311. That's the next area of support for tech or triple Qs basically. And you can see here, if I go to the daily chart, that really comes back to the former range that we're in. We held this range, several reactions around this range back here. So I think it's likely we're going to come down, hit that, probably get a bounce off that level. That's what I would be looking for. And so, yeah, I'm seeing lower prices there in the Qs. Let's look at the SPY. SPY, if I roll out on the daily chart, coming off the March 2020 lows, you can see we had a reaction there. We had a reaction here, and then recently we broke down. We had a sell signal telling us that, okay, the broader markets are going to start to sell off, and then they came in and did a back test right there of that trend line. So far, we're getting rejected off of that trend line. Let's go to the hourly. You can see here, Friday was pretty much a perfect back test. We closed right there at that resistance level. And today we gapped down and, selling off moderately. So obviously the day's young. We could continue to backtest. They could ramp it up and backtest some more, or we could just continue to sell off. But we're still below that major resistance. We're still getting rejected at resistance. There's no technical change in the bearish structure of this chart. So as far as I can tell, going back to the daily, as far as I can tell, we're going to head down to, next level of support that I really see on SPY is about 400. We haven't hit that yet. So I think we're going to run down to the 400. That's a drop of about, from where we're at now, 3.5% or so. That's what I'm looking for. I think the markets continue to sell off. The VIX, I talked about how I was buying some volatility on Friday, and you can see I used VXX as the way to do that, but this thing's up 3% or so today. Nothing huge, but you can see, from what I can see in, not so much on this chart, because really all the trades that I ever do on volatility with the VIX are everything pivots off of the SPY, the S&P 500. So if I think the SPY is going to sell off, then volatility is likely going to spike. And I'll buy some volatility if I think the SPY is going to sell off. So I think that this VIX, if we start to get that big pull down on the SPY, VIX, the VXX could get up to like 65, somewhere right around there. I'll probably look to take some profit into that move. But so far, so good. And the IWM coming off on this daily chart, coming off the March 2020 lows, lots of reactions. We got one there, one there. And we recently broke trend, so there's your sell signal, and we did a back test on Friday, and we're below that. We're still, getting rejected. So if you look at the hourly, you can see we're just kind of chopping around, not impulsively selling off yet, but not able to recover the broken support either. So as far as I can tell, we're just kind of grinding around as we're going to continue to work our way lower is what this looks like. Whether we run up and do another back test, I don't know. Okay, let's flip over to gold. Again, I've been very bullish the gold mining stocks for a couple months now, I guess, or at least a month. I've started putting out videos all the way back here, basically saying that gold and gold miners look to be one of the most bullish setups and bullish sectors. And that's when they were all selling off and everybody was bearish on the gold miners. And that's because, gold from the high had corrected down, 20%? This is gold bullion, just the price of the raw metal. But again, we started to put in bullish divergence down here. So you can see there's your bullish divergence. There was your, that's a divergent low. And there's your clear breakout to the upside. As I zoom in on the price action today, now the day is still young and we're looking at a daily chart. But breaking above the 200-day moving average, pretty impulsive so far. So we'll see if that can hold throughout the day, up $21 on gold. And if you look at the miners, GDX, this is why I was bullish on these miners. I have it circled right here, but this was a divergent low and an area of major support, 31.33. If you look at the, I think it comes, pretty much back here. You can see this was a resistance level there, resistance there, support. Once it broke above, it was support, and it was support all through here. And then recently we came down, chopped through it a little bit, run some stops, chop. If people have their stop orders set too close, then you'll run down and the market makers will run those stops and take those positions from them. And then from there, it held and off to the races she goes. So we also had a downtrend line in GDX right there. This is the kind of the correction. All this price action to me looks like a correction in a bull market. If you look at the weekly, there's a bull market. You got a higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and higher highs. So clear bull market on the weekly. And so you go to the daily, and this is a correction within a bull market, and we've also broken out of that correction. So as far as I can tell, making the next leg higher, where does it go to? Well, I think all-time highs, I believe, and beyond. I think we're going to extend beyond those all-time highs. You can see even the GDX, when we broke out, came back and back tested, and then off to the races. So up 3.5%. All the miners are ripping to the upside more today. You can see Barrick up 3%. And there will be resistance levels along the way. I've got some of them marked out. I prefer, a lot of these miners are coming into what looks like to be some resistance. But again, I think pullbacks, I believe, will be bought up. Because of the larger trend, I believe that the pullbacks are going to be bought up. So rather than look to exit positions at major resistance, I'm really more interested in adding to long positions if we fall to support. All right, so that's kind of how I'm looking to trade it. Here's Harmony. I think this thing's up, from the entry point down here where I kind of pointed it out where I have it circled. This was the buy zone, you can see. And if you bought down there, you bought, in the short term at least, near the lows. From the absolute low, this thing's up 40%. And from the top of that zone, this thing is up, 30%. So again, the miners are all looking good and they're continuing to run. This one's at resistance right now, so maybe we'll get a pullback. But again, I think pullbacks are going to be bought into, so we'll continue to watch them. And here's MGM. We talked about it on the live stream this weekend. So if you're new and you guys want to participate in the live stream, I usually do them Saturday morning at around 10 o'clock Pacific time. And they go for about an hour. It's just a full Q&A session. It's an opportunity for everyone to get on, point out trade ideas without the market really trading and having to worry about your positions. So it's a little bit more of a calm setting where we can just look at the charts in detail, find trade ideas. So, feel free to join. That starts on, about 10 o'clock is when I usually do those on Saturday. MGM. This was a trade idea that was pointed out over the weekend. You can see here on MGM, we've got a nice clean uptrend line right there on your daily chart. And we're waiting for this to break. I think it's going to break because you've got big negative divergence. See how that negative divergence is setting up? Momentum's just been dropping off. And we're waiting for that impulsive breakdown of this support level, which would be the sell signal. We don't have it yet. It's still kind of hanging in there. So no trade yet, but looks weak. Looks like it's going to come soon. Probably going to come in the form of a gap down. So yeah, that's what we're waiting for on that one. And then also Starbucks to me looks like a short. On Starbucks, you can see nice clean uptrend line coming off the March 2020 low area. All these areas that we held support on Starbucks. And as I zoom in, you can see negative divergence has been building on the PPO. And you can, as you zoom in, you can see there's your impulsive breakdown or sell signal of that trend line. So a little kickback rally and more selling today. So as far as I can tell, Starbucks, here's the support levels. I can see about 101.21. I think it's a high probability that one's at least hit. And then possibly down here to 91.38 area. There's a gap down there. So that could be a major level of support. And also, this is kind of a support zone. So 93.60 down to 91.38. That's a support zone. So potential trade idea is to short this thing all the way down here. Again, everything on this channel is just my opinion. It's not actual trading advice or any kind of financial advice. But those are the levels to watch. And I think it looks good. Here's Boyd Gaming. This one was a trade idea that was pointed out last week. And you can see here, nice clean uptrend line. BYD is the symbol. Uptrend line right there. Divergent high up there. I got it circled. You can see the negative divergence on the PPO and the RSI. And you wait for the break of the trend line. There's your break and a nice clean sell signal. A little bit of a bounce last week and more selling today. So again, you're not going to go straight down. You're going to, work your way lower, and there will be bounces along the way, which shake out the weak hands. But ultimately, I think we go lower. Very, very high probability we're going to hit this 55.37. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I think it's likely this week. And then we break that level, and I think we're heading right down to about 43.66. And below that, we've got, we have major support down here at about 36.30 area. That would be, if we were to get all the way down there, that would be a final target for sure. Okay, I talked about Tesla and how I was covering my short. The thing is, Tesla doesn't look very strong. It looks pretty weak. So I'm just gonna re-enter the short today, and I've already have. And I'm just gonna ride out any bounces that we get. Tesla could bounce. We could bounce up to like 626 or even back test this broken trend line on the daily. See the trend line right there? We broke that trend line to the downside. I think we're heading down to this 460 area. So I'm gonna ride out any bounces and just ride it down to 460. I like that one. Carvana, you can see continuing to sell off today. So last week was just a bounce, especially Friday, bounced right into resistance and rejecting, continuing lower. So as far as I can tell, we're downtrending. Bounces, it's a sell the rip. This is a sell the rip chart pattern where you get bounces and you want to short or exit longs into those. Next level of support on Carvana, you had a gap back here that was never really filled. They got close to filling it, but they didn't quite fill it. So I think we're going to come down and fill that gap. And you can see it all the way back here. So that's a move down to about 175. That's a final target for me on that one. Any more, if it continues to break lower, then you will have done a lot of technical damage, and we could be going a lot lower. Here's the bull market in Carvana coming off. It's pretty much IPO, and that would be all the way down to that trend line. So I'm not trading for a break of the trend line, but if you do get that break, then maybe there's something, we could potentially be starting a new, bear market in this stock. Moving on to Chewy. Nothing really going on with that one. Resistance is right there, about 71.70. We could bounce up to there. Here's Peloton. Friday, we just traded right up into resistance, about 98.30. So far, rejecting today. So you can see as I scroll out, that's a major resistance level. It was resistance back here, and then once above, it was support all through here. There was support. We broke. Back test resistance. I think we're heading down lower. You got to take out these lows. You take out the lows on Peloton. I don't even have a level marked up, so I'm not exactly sure. Probably, you've got a level all the way back here at it's about right in there. We could potentially be going all the way down there to 38.40. To me, that'd probably be a final target on this one if we were to get down there. But, if we continue to break lower, we could get down there. Here's Neo. Again, I continue to cover it, but Neo to me looks like it's got lower prices. You've got You did have some bullish divergence that is, as far as I can tell, it is still intact. So we could get a little bounce here, but again, bullish divergence isn't a reason to go long or to exit a short, because you can continue to diverge. We could continue to sell off. Maybe we'll hit this 2220 with a bullish divergence setup in place, and we'll look to cover a short trade down there and maybe even go long. But I still think NIO's got lower prices. We're bouncing around a little bit. Ultimately, I still think we've got some lower prices. So I'm just watching for that 2220 area for now. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. So here's Bitcoin futures. Level of support on Bitcoin is about 44,500. And you can see here on the daily, we gap down to that level, and we've been chopping around here. If you look at the hourly, kind of grinding around this level, starting to break. But again, this is, the day's young, so we'll see where the day closes. If it continues to sell off, then I don't see support until we get all the way down to 30,000, about 30,000, 31,000, we'll call it, on Bitcoin. So that would be a good size drop there. And again, it might not look like a lot because I use log scaling. If you take the log scaling off and you roll it out, that's a drop all the way down here. And it looks different on a linear scale than it does on a log scale in terms of the gains and the drops, but it's substantial. If you just measure out the percentage from where we're at, that's a 30% drop in Bitcoin. Here's Square. Look at the hourly chart. You can see, well, actually, here's the daily on Square. Clean uptrend line right here on Square. Nice clean upward price channel, all right? And we started to put in negative divergence, so you can see that momentum's just been fading. It's been diverging lower. Momentum's been moving lower, and price has been continuing to make new higher highs all back through here. So those are divergent highs. We wait for a break of the trend line, and we got that. There's your break of trend line support. So I think we're downtrending now. All right, that's the premise, is that we're downtrending. And going down, we're going to go down through these support levels. All right, next level of support. You've got a little bit of support right in here, but I think we're going to break. So I think the next level of support's about 171.26. You break that, we're going to go down to about 135, we'll call it. And below that, we've got 83.51. 83.51 would be my final target. You can see that was major resistance for quite a while. So if we break and go all the way down there, that should be major support. Looking at the hourly here, you can see when we broke, we back tested, sold off. A little bit of a bounce on Friday, but continuing to sell down so far today. So as far as I can tell, we're going to chop around and work our way lower. And then the way it works is you kind of grind around, work your way lower little by little, and then you'll make big moves down. And then grind around, get little bounces, work your way lower, and then big moves down. So the moves down often come swift, and then everything else is just kind of grinding around. And that's just how the markets typically go lower. And Lyft continuing to trade below resistance, which is about 50-50. That was former resistance back here. So I think, we're just kind of grinding around. Next level of support, we haven't even hit the 200-day moving average, so I do believe we're at least going to come down to 43.50. We break that, we've got a big gap all the way down here, and the gap fill would come at about 32.06. So that would be a final price target on this one if we were to get down there about 32.06. I'm likely going to take some profit at this first level and then maybe hold out a portion of my trade for the potential to run down and fill this gap all the way down here. Okay, and then someone asked me on Saturday whether they thought Joe was a good spot to add at. Well, where I'm looking to buy Joe back is right around, if I can get it, probably just around 40, 70, something like that. So a little lower, ideally. I'm not sure if we'll get it, but a little bit lower. That was former. You can see that was former resistance right there, about 40, 70. Resistance here, here, and here. And, so a little bit more. But again, these commodities look like they're in a bull market. So this could be as low as it's going to go, and it's going to start to rally from here. The other commodities, though, are also breaking. Here's wheat. You can see coming down to, this level of support. I probably could even move this trend line. Probably could move it up to just the high right there. So support is about 655 or so. So we're coming down into that major support, or into that support. You know, we could whip below, but I suspect that holds. And then corn has a ways to go, potentially all the way down to the 1775 area. That would be the target buy zone, down around 1775. And that's what I'm looking for. So commodities could continue to sell off. Lumber's, you know, starting to head straight down. So we're seeing a correction in lumber. I think lumber's likely heading all the way down here to about 975, 980, $1,000 per board foot, or 1,000 board feet. So I think we're going lower there on lumber. Obviously, it's broken trend and continuing. So again, little pullbacks in these ag commodities, but I think they're going to be falling down into some buy zones where I'll be looking to buy these things. I'm not really interested in shorting the ag commodities. I'm more interested in buying gold, kind of the king of all commodities, at least when it comes to the inflation. The inflation play is looking really bullish. So these ag commodities should continue to be bullish. Just getting a little bit of, you know, corrective price action. These things, you know, they ran pretty strong, so you got to wash out some of the late to the party traders. But I'm looking for these ag commodities to continue higher over the longer term, and just really looking to buy these things if I can get them a little bit lower. All right, guys, that's all I got. Let me know if you guys find value by leaving a thumbs up on the way out. Check out the course. Link is in the description below, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.